There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
Uniquely American institution known as the Neighborhood Bar. Reading left to right are Mr. Anthony O'Toole, proprietor, who waters his drinks like geraniums, but who stands foursquare for peace and quiet and for booths for ladies. This is Mr. Joseph J. Callahan, an unregistered bookie, whose entire life is any sporting event with two sides and a set of odds. His idea of a meeting at the summit is any dialogue between a catcher and a pitcher with more than one man on base. And this animated citizen is every anonymous bettor who ever dropped rent money in a horse race, a prize fight, or a floating crap game, and who took out his frustrations and his insolvency on any vulnerable fellow barstool companion within arm's and fist reach. And this is Mr. Luther Dingle, a vacuum cleaner salesman whose volume of business is roughly that of a valet at a hobo convention. He's a consummate failure in almost everything, but is a good listener and has a prominent jaw.
Don't hit him! Don't push him!
And these two unseen gentlemen are visitors from outer space. They are about to alter the destiny of Luther Dingle by leaving him a legacy, the kind you can't hardly find no more. In just a moment, a sad-faced perennial punching bag who missed even the caboose of life's gravy train will take a short constitutional into that most unpredictable region that we refer to as the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and joined in the southern layer today with
80s E, an average man with average strength, middle-aged.
Definitely average intelligence.
Yeah, below average intelligence for sure.
Yes, in case you can't tell, we are diving into another one of the Twilight Zone episodes at a shot at comedy with Mr. Dingle the Strong, which is season 2, episode 19, starring the great Burgess Meredith. But Eric, before we get started, I do have a question for you.
Shoot.
And you might not have an answer for this, but what is Rod Serling's fascination with Misters in the title? We have Mr. Dingle the Strong, we have Mr. Denton on Doomsday, we have Mr. Beavis. Why do they continually throw these at us like this?
I don't know.
And if I do remember, Mr. Beavis was actually going to be a TV series, which Burgess Meredith was in the running to play, which I have a whole, I'm not going to read it, but there's like a whole 2 pages in this book over here about that. But why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe he just writes from a singular character who just happens to be male, and then he just builds... Maybe he builds a story around the title. I don't know, but I never noticed that until you mentioned that. There are a lot of misters in the titles of these episodes.
The mystery of the misters,
right?
I know Eric's been chomping at the bits to record this one because he really, really likes this episode.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Dingle the Strong. This is the Twilight Zone season number 2, episode number 19. And this one was directed by John Brom, and this one was written by Rod Serling. And the original air date for this episode was March the 3rd, 1961. And you know what time it is. This is our ever-beloved segment in the episode we like to call On This Day in History. All right, so on this day in TV and film history, for March the 3rd in 1975, the People's Choice Awards, we have an award for John Wayne and Barbara Streisand. They
win. Where's the boo track for John Wayne?
They won People's Choice Awards for the film side, and then for motion picture. And then Alan Alda, Telly Savalas, and Mary Tyler Moore, who we love dearly, They won People's Choice Awards for the television side. All right, so we move ahead 10 years to 1985, and we have the show Moonlighting that was in its inception with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. It premieres on ABC TV in the U.S. in 1985. And then in 2010, for TV and movie history, we have Alice in Wonderland, inspired by Lewis Carroll, and it was directed by Tim Burton, starring Johnny Depp and Mia, I'm going to mispronounce this name, Wasikowska? Am I saying that right? Jimbo, have you seen it, or are you familiar with that actress?
Did you say Mike Wazowski? Is that who you said from Monsters? Oh, okay.
No. So Alice in Wonderland in 2010 was released on March the 3rd. Moving along with the production costs, this one was a regular episode, and it came in at $51,777.43. And when we adjust that for inflation in today's dollars, we're looking at $518,068.69 with a 908% increase. So $500,000 to produce this episode. I have dates of rehearsal of July 26th and 27th of 1960, and the dates of filming were July 28th and 29th. Actually, 3 days, 28th, 29th, and August 1st of 1960. So that is your introductory information, Jimbo. Why don't you give us the cast for this wonderful comedic episode that we all love?
Well, don't get me wrong. This stars one of the greatest actors of that time, with Burgess Meredith playing the main character, Luther Dingle. I did find out that he did get a salary of $3,500 for this episode.
Whoa.
Yeah. You may most remember him from Clash of the Titans in 1981, Batman 66, where he played the Penguin in, I think, 21 episodes, if I remember right. He was in a little movie called Rocky, where he played the trainer. Yeah, so, legendary actor. Nothing you can say about him. And he's been in, I think it was 5 or 6 Twilight Zone episodes, too, if I remember. You had James Westerfield playing Anthony O'Toole. He was on the Waterfront in 1954. He was in True Grit, Hang 'em High. He was also in The Absent-Minded Professor. So a lot of good movies there from James Westerfield. You had Eddie Ryder playing Joseph J. Callahan. He was in a movie called Hot Rod Girl. And Eric's favorite, we had The Two Martians. The first one played by Douglas Spencer. He was in...
I can't tell them apart. I don't know.
The one had the radio antenna on top of his head. He was in The Thing from Another World from 1951. He was also in The Diary of Anne Frank, and he was in a Western called Shane, if you've ever seen that movie. The second Martian was Michael Fox, not Michael J. Fox, but Michael Fox. He starred in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and one of Eric's favorite AD movies, Over the Top, where he played Jim Olsen. Then, not only that, but then you had 2 9-year-old boys playing the 2 Venusians, which were from Venus. The other 2 were from Mars. So, Donald Losby and Gregory Irvin. I didn't really dive too much into their cast or their credits, but they were 9-year-old boys that played it. Douglas Evans played a man. Phil Arnold, he was another man. There's just some men, in this episode because there's a bunch of crowds and everything. We will get to a pretty famous one. I'm just going to finish these few other ones. Joanne Dixon played a nurse. Jay Hector played a boy. James Milhoen played Jason Abernathy. He was in No Time for Sergeants in 1958. The great Don Rickles. He's kind of funny in this episode. But he played Betor, which I think is funny that his name is Betor when he was the guy that was betting all the time. He was in Kelly's Heroes in 1970. He had his own comedy show there for a while, but he's probably, for the younger generation, best remembered for it as playing Mr. Potato Head in Toy Stories. Mm-hmm. You had Bob Duggan, who was the photographer that was uncredited. He was in Cruising in 1980. Robert McCord, he was a customer in it says the Twilight Zone. And then you had the great Rod Serling, obviously reprising his role as the narrator and the self-host and introduction to the episode. So, Eric, that is your low-key cast of Mr. Dingle the Strong.
Rather lengthy cast on this episode. So let's talk about the plot. Luther Dingle is a meek and mild-mannered vacuum cleaner salesman. He spends some time in a bar, but always seems to be in the middle of others' arguments and always seems to get the worst of it. Courtesy of visiting but invisible aliens, he is given a great strength, some 300 times greater than that of a normal human being. Dingle becomes something of a local celebrity, but just how long will his powers last? All right. So,
Eric, did you ever remember door-to-door salesman coming to your house when you were younger? Like for like the Encyclopedia Britannicas or whatever they were.
Yeah, that's a thing of a
I do remember
bygone era.
I remember a vacuum person. I might have been at Sears when we went, and they throw stuff on the floor, and then they like, look what you can do. I don't remember if they ever came to the house, so that's kind of foggy in that area.
What was that? I can't remember the famous, vacuum. I mean, there's one. Was it? I can't think of it now. But they used to have salesmen, and it was a really expensive vacuum.
Dyson.
Yeah, maybe.
I think something like that.
Kirby, that was the name of the vacuum. It was like all metal. It was super heavy back in the day, and I think they had door-to-door salesmen that sold you back then. It was really expensive, and I remember. For some reason, I remember maybe a vacuum cleaner salesman coming to the house and my mom having to turn him away very quickly. Like, no, we cannot afford this $1,000 vacuum cleaner. Our carpets aren't even $1,000. So, that's of a bygone era, sort of the door-to-door salesman. So, as we open the episode, we have an opening in a bar. And this episode is kind of unique because Rod has two separate introductory monologues. He kind of gives a brief bio in the first narration. He kind of sets the scene. Rod says we have a bookie, a bartender, and a bettor, and then Luther Dingle, the vacuum salesman. And the bartender, his name is O'Toole. The bookie is Callahan, and then bettor, played by Don Rickles. And they're having an argument. This argument ensues about a bum call in the Pirates versus the Dodgers game. And one person thought it was a foul, and one person thought it was an out. I can't remember who thought what. But the bettor, who would have been Don Rickles, he lost to the bookie, and basically Rickles' character is welching on the bet. He's refusing to pay, and he's looking at his facial.
Yeah, he's like, it was a foul ball, and when it hit him, he's like, so if it was a foul ball, it should never been called out, and all that. So, but it was the bet you made. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and he's welching on the bet. He's not one to play, and they're about to come to blows. The bookie and the bettor. And so they consult Dingle as a sort of a third-party option. They ask him if he saw the game and what he thought and what his opinion was. And Dingle, he cannot just keep silent and be sort of like Switzerland or be neutral. He always has to give his opinion, and most of the time he gets punched in the nose for it. So after Dingle disagrees with the bettor, he gets punched in the nose, and then we get narration number 2.
He gets knocked over the ring. Yeah. Or over another ring. Over the bar.
So then narration number 2 comes in, and kind of it's an interruption of this dialogue that takes place. So I kind of divided the episode into, I think, 3 or 4 main parts. I think it's the opening in the bar, and then we're going to talk about the feats of strength in the episode.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, thirdly, we're going to see the Martians. They come back and return, and we'll talk about that particular part of the episode. So this exchange takes place. And then again, like I said, the narration is an interruption of dialogue. And then that's kind of the more traditional, opening monologue that Rod has. And we see Dingle described as a sad-faced perennial punching bag who missed even the caboose on life's gravy train. I think that's how Rod describes him. I thought that was really, really poignant and funny. And
I have a question though. The thing about Dingle, dude, is he's a door-to-door salesman, right?
Yeah.
Why did they give him a stutter or whatever? I think
that just adds
to his.
Doesn't he say somewhere in the episode like his commissions added up to like 32 cents or something?
I think it's like 89 cents.
Yeah,
I sold some this week.
He's not really good at selling vacuum cleaners, and he's not doing really well for himself. And O'Toole, the bartender, I think this scene goes on. The first part of this episode, a large part of it in the beginning is in the bar. The bartender just pleads with him, dude, why do you keep offering your opinion? Just keep your opinion to yourself. So here we see the Martians. Okay, well, the Martians enter. the dialogue's interrupted, then Rod gives his, great introductory.
And these Martians,
he's got a beer and a cigarette. And
these Martians look like the two-headed monster from Sesame Street, the the near, far, or whatever. I mean, that's what it reminds me of. Because there's two heads, two arms, and two legs. There's like almost like conjoined twins.
Yeah.
And they look ridiculous. I ain't gonna lie, they look pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're introduced to the Martians here, and the Martians, they decide that they're gonna have an experiment of sorts.
Eric, we could go as Halloween as those guys this year.
Oh my!
Can you imagine?
So, yeah, they decide to give this sub-physical, cowardly type 300 times the strength of the average man. So they, they do their little Martian deal, and then they got some cool sound effects. Yeah,
they do.
And they give him the strength of 300 men, and then Dingle gets into another dispute of sorts, and he gets punched again when he's asked of his opinion of the Brooklyn versus L.A. Dodger pitcher Clem Labine. And here's a little trivia about Clem Labine. He has the National League record for saves from 1958 to 1962. And he also holds the record for the Dodgers organization for the most games pitched, 425. So Clem Labine. Yeah, it's interesting.
That one with the antenna on its head just kills me at trolls.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. So Clem Labine, there's your little trivia about him. If you're a big baseball fan, he was quite the... I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame or not. I didn't research that. I guess I should have. But so, again, Dingle, I already talked about this. He receives his advice from O'Toole, the bartender. Don't talk and keep your mouth shut. Keep your opinions to yourself. And it'll cause you a lot less trouble. And I got to tell you, I do agree with you. Like, Burgess Meredith, he did the best he could with what he was dealt here. Like, I mean, to be honest, there's not a whole... And there he is getting punched again.
I can't say nothing bad about his acting in this, and the same with Don Rickles. I think it's acted really good for what they were dealt.
Yeah, I wish they would have had more. Well, I guess Rickles had a lot of dialogue, but he was most notably famous for his insult comedy and stuff, and he's kind of doing that a little bit here in this episode. But it'd be cool if he could have just went off on a couple people and did his thing. I think that would have been funny, but. Again, Don Rickles, famous friend of Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, and if you know him, you know him well. I think he just died recently, within the last couple of years. So let's move on to the second part of this episode, and we'll hurry along. Let's talk about his feats of strength. So in the bar, he has the feats of strength of he lifts the vacuum cleaner and he says it's light as a feather. That's his first after the Martians give him his strength, and then he tears the door off the hinges. He tears the bar door off of his hinges, and the bar owner O'Toole's like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you tearing my door up?"
He's like, "You've never caused me any trouble." Right. And then he's like, "I don't know," and he just lifted it up and down.
So those are the two in the bar, and then we go to on the street. The punk kid throws the punk kid's ball through a window and an interior door of a house down the street.
Yeah, because the kid's like, "My dad told me, what are you doing? Don't come to my house ever again, or he's going to beat you up or whatever." And he throws the ball and hits him in the head.
All right.
He's like, "Go out for a pass." And did you see the way he throws it? It's like an underhand granny.
I know you brought that up. It was like the Mr. Beavis when he throws the football. Both of these guys throw the football in the most awkward manner you could possibly. I mean, it was crazy. So yeah, the football goes through an open window and through an interior door in a house.
The guy on the ladder keeps falling, because he can't believe what he just saw.
Yeah, the guy painting the house is like the wacky, zany, the old shtick where he's painting a house and he slides down the ladder and the paint can and the bucket spills, and that's as old as all get out. Okay, so that was on the street, and then he tears the handle off the taxi cab. That was one of his feats of strength. He tips the taxi cab on its side.
They don't make door handles like they used to. It's not my fault.
Yeah. So the next place was in the park. He lifts the park bench with the woman sitting on it. He lifts it over his head. He tears a rock boulder in half.
And then tears it in half again.
Yeah.
He's like, Mister, can I get a picture? He's like, what, the rock?
It's so corny.
And the best, though, is when he goes to the statue of whoever that statue is, and he lifts it up, and, and then you watch, he takes his hat off and he poses just like the statue.
Yeah. He lifts that was my next one, he lifts the statue over the head. Yeah, this little punk kid throws a football and hits him in the head, knocks his hat off. So dumb. And then in his apartment room, okay, he smashes an alarm clock.
He tries to wake up and
he tears a phone book in half. Okay, that was another.
And he's posing in the window in the mirror, like showing his muscles are only this.
That's
big.
My favorite when he tries to flex his bicep or whatever right before he punches through the wall.
But do you know what happens though? He'll flex with this arm and he swings with this arm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, watch what he's saying. It's funny.
So that's in his apartment. So, okay, we go back to the bar again. And the feat of strength on the second trip to the bar, he takes pitches from people who want to sell or put on display his feats of strength. So when he comes back to the bar, which that guy was in... who was the guy that played the cameraman, the TV
He
guy?
was
he was in another Twilight Zone with the mannequins.
Yes.
Lightness of the Hour? No, that's not it. Anyway, he was like the store
owner. Yeah,
store clerk, and he's like he's from the media, the local media, and they want to put his display. They want him to display his feats of strength, and so he's back in the bar, and he punches a hole in the wall of the bar. But O'Toole doesn't care because he's making all this money. He's going to cash in. He's got more customers than ever since
the 18th Amendment was abolished.
The 18th Amendment. So he's happy that he doesn't care that.
Okay, you notice that when the TV camera come in and the microphone, it's not hooked to anything.
Right? Yeah, I read that. Nothing's plugged in. No microphones are plugged in. No TV cameras are plugged in. And so he punches the hole. He smashes a table in half. Right, and he takes his fist and smashes.
I like how he does. X marks the spot on the table.
Yeah.
He cracks it down.
He pulls a bar stool that's anchored to the floor. He pulls it out. He spins Don Rickles over his head.
He smashes his cigar first in his face.
Yeah. And then we'll get to that here in a minute in the goof section, but there's a lot of stuff that you can see.
One thing we should probably throw in here is there is a lot of smoking in this episode. Because there was, I forgot the name of the brand, but smoking was actually a sponsor of the Twilight Zone,
Mm-hmm.
so they had a lot of smoking in the episode. I can't remember what the name brand was or whatever. See, Eric, here's what I was talking about. Where watch what he does when he flexes, and then he's going to punch, and he's going to punch with his other hand through the wall. We have this on in the background. He just points to his bicep.
Points at it. Looks at the camera.
Just with the other one.
Yeah.
They're all clapping, yeah. But that lady in polka dots, man, it's the same polka dots as his bow tie and as his hat, if you've noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's the X on the table. Oh, man.
Yeah, this is wacky. So the last feat of strength that he does in the bar is he attempts to lift the building.
Okay, I have a question. If you're going to attempt to lift the building, don't go to the structure that's holding the building in place. He's going right for that beam. You would go outside and try to lift the building. You know what I mean?
This is where he's going to lift the chair or the bar.
One finger.
Oh, yeah, one finger. He doesn't even have to lift it with it. That guy looks like Joe Pesci, one of the guys in the crowd. I couldn't believe how, he was a dead ringer for Joe Pesci in this episode. So after he gets through with all of his feats of strength in the bar, then the Martians return, and we'll get there in a moment. But they are very disappointed that his strength was used for petty exhibition, right? Yeah. So everyone leaves once they realize that Dingle has lost his strength. Well, so he loses his strength halfway through his attempt to lift the building. And yeah, we're at one part. We'll get to it in a second on the goofs and trivia part. But so then the Venusians enter after Dingle loses his strength, and they have a discussion with the Martians, and they decide to give Dingle the intelligence quota, Ray, 500 times more than the average human. So He's getting his strength replaced with intelligence.
And, he's doing a probability of, well, if this guy's on base, then what's the probability of this guy with 2 strikes, 3 balls, and what's he going to... He's like, I believe he's going to hit a home run.
Yeah, he actually predicts he's going to hit by the law, he says, from the laws of probability and calculus, he's going to predict that a guy on the TV will hit a home run. He is now, Mr. Dingle is now a mental giant. And that's kind of where we leave the episode.
I'd kind of like to... either see a second episode with this as he's the mental giant just to see what he can do.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Here's the part where he's lifting the building. And then oh my God.
I will say, out of all the comedy they've tried to do, this is probably my favorite one because it's just so over the top. It's hilarious. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he does such a good job.
Let's go to some of the goofs and then we can goof on them as well. The sound of the table starts breaking. The sound begins before Dingle hits it. And when Dingle lifts the park bench, and also when he lifts the statue, you can both see wires during the lifting.
Eric, look,
can be seen.
The table is fixed now. That's the exact same table that he went to break because the hole's in the wall right there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of a blatantly obvious.
And you can see the wires. And then, Jimbo, you pointed out earlier, when he's twirling the better over his head, you can definitely see that it's a stunt man or someone standing in.
Definitely.
They zoom in on his face.
I know. And it's not even close.
I don't know if it was just poorly edited on purpose, but the guide wires, those are pretty obvious if you're paying attention. And I talked about that. A close shot of the man lifting Dingle over his head shows a part of the lifter's face, revealing that the actor is other than Burgess Meredith. And then, we can talk about all the wires that can obviously be seen.
Well, there is also the street that they're playing football on is also the same one as Monsters do on Maple Street.
Yeah, I think I have that in my regular trivia. Do you got anything else?
Well, it does kind of remind you of Monsters on Maple Street a little bit because Monsters on Maple Street deal with fear, and this one deals with greed. Everybody wants a piece of the money. The bar owner does. You got people wanting to. They all want a piece of the money. You got the guy that wants TV rights. You got the guy. I can make you a boxing champion within 8 months. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they're all everybody's making money off of it. And I think that's part of what the aliens saw as well. That they didn't want to give into that either. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, Rod Serling had previously used the name Mr. Dingle for the main character called Mr. Denton in the filmed episode of The Twilight Zone, Mr. Denton on Doomsday. There's another Mr. Episode, Mr. Denton on Doomsday. This was Douglas Spencer's final acting role before his death on October 6, 1960. I think he was one of the Martians. I don't remember if he was the right or left Martian.
He was the first Martian.
Yeah, okay. That doesn't tell me much. The phone book that Mr. Dingle rips in half is the June 1960 edition of the Los Angeles Telephone Directory. Yeah, for all you kids out there, there was a telephone book which you had to look up. It wasn't in your phone. You had to look up someone's phone number in a phone book or a business, for that matter. So that was the Los Angeles phone book from 1960. And Jimbo, you already talked about this. The street where Dingle throws the football is the same street from The Monsters Do on Maple Street from 1960. Near the end, the bartender says that the business had not been this good since the repeal of the 18th Amendment. Ratified in 1919, the 18th Amendment instituted prohibition. It was repealed in 1933, 28 years before the original airing of this episode. And then I have a question mark. Coincidence? Question mark. The airline flight in the previous Twilight Zone episode was Global Airlines Flight 33, and the taxi cab in this episode is from the Globe Taxi Company, and it is car number 33. And the church scene in the background where Mr. Dingle is playing football with the boys is the same church prominently featured in Stopover at a Quiet Town. The church was located outside the Parktown Square on Lot 2 at MGM. So the church was used in another episode, which we'll get to down the line somewhere. The same statue Dingle lifts in the air for everyone's amusement can be found in the same park in No Time Like the Past and the episode Mute. A Stop at Willoughby, which I didn't notice that. I have to go back and watch Stop at Willoughby to look for that statue. And I Sing the Body Electric. So it was featured in several episodes, it looks like, of The Twilight Zone.
Do you know who the statue is actually of, though?
No.
I don't know.
No,
I'm sure.
Buck Houghton described the filming of this episode as the misadventures of Dingle, perhaps because the episode ran $1,800 over budget due to the number of special effects and wire gags running into longer hours than foreseen. And that's pretty much all I got as far as trivia. Jimbo, you got something?
Let me read a little bit out of my trusty companion. So a year before, in an article about the Twilight Zone, a reporter had mistakenly referred to the main character of Mr. Denton on Doomsday as Mr. Dingle. Sterling must have liked the name, for he created Mr. Dingle the Strong. As with Mr. Beavis, Sterling once again threw out all sensitivity for his characters out the window in an effort to achieve out-and-out bofo comedy. Consequently, Mr. Dingle is a little more than a bland punching bag character who virtually anyone and everyone can walk over. This isn't to say that Mr. Dingle the Strong is without interest, though. The Martians might not have be a terribly convincing alien, but with its two high domed heads, one with a turning radar dish and the other with a blinking light pointed ears and central pedestal, it's certainly peculiar enough to grab our attention. And at the end of the episode, there are two equally bizarre Venusians played by a couple of 9-year-olds wearing mustaches, eye stalks, and bald caps with cones of foam rubber around them. Then there were the various strongman tricks that Dingle performs, engineered by special effects man Virgil Beck. These include reaching over to turn off his alarm clock and inadvertently squashing it, lifting a woman on a park bench with one hand, and tearing a statue from its base and ripping rocks and a phone book in half. So, I think for all its goofiness, there was some cool stuff in it. If they're going to do comedy, then I'd rather be over-the-top comedy like this than halfway done. For me, I'd probably put this about a 5.5, 6. And that's mainly just because of the acting of Meredith and Rickles in this episode. It does make you ponder, what would you do if you had that super strength? You know what I mean? What would you do, Eric? What would be the first thing you do?
I don't know. I honestly haven't even contemplated that. I guess, take care of some work that I couldn't. I would lift 100 UPS packages over my head. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
No, then they just add work to you.
Yeah, right.
They cut half the workforce.
Exactly. I'm disappointed in myself, though, because I didn't write a poem for, all the comedic episodes. I like to write a poem, and I totally neglected that because I could have wrote a humdinger for this particular.
Well, maybe we'll have you. We'll do like a end of the year review, and you can throw it in there.
Okay. Yeah. That'll give me some time to mull over my bars for that.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I laughed. It's funny. It's just so over the top. It's hilarious. And I kind of like this. I mean, I wish I could rate it higher, but if we're taking the whole realm of Twilight Zone episodes into consideration from season 2 or overall, it's not very not going to be up there. So, Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, it was a total fail. I'm sorry. There's not a lot of redeeming qualities about it. Again, I do give props to Meredith and Rickles. Did the best with what they were dealt. But yeah, this was it's not highly regarded by a lot of different people, and I would echo those sentiments. It's just it was a swing and a miss, and we give Rod a pass on these kinds because they're few and far between. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it very much at all, and it was super corny.
And he's been yelling at this episode for as long as I can remember.
There's no twist other than he loses his strength in the middle of
and he's
lifting
getting super
building.
Super intelligent.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, I don't know. I would rate it, like you said, probably lower, like a 4.5 or a 5. But yeah, it's down near the bottom. I'd say it's at the very bottom of this season so far. But I don't know. We're not at the end. Yeah, I think we got 9 episodes left.
Let the record show that Eric rated the Invaders higher than Mr. Dingle, just for the record.
Yeah, I think I would. I would put the Invaders definitely above this episode.
So, stay tuned for next week where we talk about another episode that's kind of different. Another videotaped episode called Static. It is very thought-provoking episode. Is it good? You'll have to listen and find out what we think. But yeah, I think this episode's coming to a close. And that's a wrap.
And cut.
Exit Mr. Luther Dingle, formerly vacuum cleaner salesman, strongest man on Earth, and now mental giant. These latter powers will very likely be eliminated before too long. But Mr. Dingle has an appeal to extraterrestrial note-takers as well as to frustrated and insolvent bet-losers. Offhand, I'd say that he was in for a great deal of extremely odd periods. simply because there are so many inhabited planets who send down observers, and also because, of course, Mr. Dingle lives his life with one foot in his mouth and the other in the Twilight Zone.